Why is it whenever you head out to camp, and right now we're at bear camp, food is sometimes the last thing that you think about? Everybody's hungry and they want breakfast, and we're gonna make one of our specialties. It's our HogGobbler sausage. Yes, that's HogGobbler. So we've got wild hog and we've got wild turkey. We brought them both in frozen, and the first thing that I did this morning is I got them ground up. Start by slicing the turkey breast into small chunks and do a single grind. Then after the first grind, go through and grind it again. We're gonna twice grind both the hog and the wild turkey here. Ground is a great way to make use of trimmings from the wild turkey or the wild hog. You don't want to use good cuts like the whole breast or even a whole loin, so this is perfect for trimmings. Now here at camp, we don't have sausage casing, but I'm going to use the bacon in a really cool technique. I'm going to lay it out and it's going to make the perfect sausage. The first thing I have to do is get this spiced up. Starting with the caraway seed, they're whole caraway seeds. The caraway seed is going to give a real punch of flavor. Then paprika, that bright, beautiful fragrance, slightly smoked, and one of my favorite, anchovies. Charred, beautiful anchovies. All of this together, I'm going to incorporate thoroughly. Make sure to get it mixed in, and then turn it over and we'll roll it into a nice tight sausage. Now for our bacon casing. The first thing that I did is I laid out some saran wrap, plastic wrap. If you don't have any, you can still accomplish this, but the plastic wrap will actually help me to hold and to manage the bacon once I put the stuffing in. Now you'll see what I'm doing here is I'm very simply overlapping. Just make sure the bacon just overlaps. And one of the things that you may find when you're doing this is if you've got bacon and you'll see this slab bacon thicker at one end and a little bit thinner at another. So what you want to do is alternate it. So just flip it back and forth. That way you'll get good coverage and you won't end up with one end that's really, really large. Taking the ground in your hand, just make sure that you get it the same length as the bacon itself. Work it into a nice tight sausage and leave a little bit overhanging at each end. Get it as uniform at this stage as you possibly can. Now for the last step, just before I wrap it up, I've got some beautiful flake sea salt. I'm just gonna top that and just kind of put that around all sides. Now keep in mind that bacon is salted, so that will bring a certain amount of seasoning, but there's at least a couple pounds of meat there that needs to be seasoned well. Now for the fun part. It's time to wrap this up. So trim the plastic wrap, set that aside, and now using the plastic wrap, I can come up and over. You see how that allows you to control that. Then I'll pull that down. The nice thing about this fat is that it really sticks together nicely. Pull that up and over. And now it's time to make this uniform. What I can do is just simply wrap this up, just like so, twist the ends, and begin to roll it. And as I do, I can twist these ends, and that'll make it nice and tight and dense. With the fire heating up now and those coals just about ready, I'm gonna season my cast iron, and there's gonna be lots of fat rendered, but I don't want this to stick. The last thing I'm going to do, and you can see how beautiful that looks. At camp, if you have a refrigerator, put it in the refrigerator, if not in your cooler. What happens is all those fats begin to solidify a little bit, and this will become very, very uniform. When I do put it down, I'm gonna put down those overlapping sides down first so that all of those proteins fuse together and it'll stay together as a beautiful sausage. The plastic wrap lets you handle it at all times. Just always be gentle. You can see how incredibly uniform that is. Make sure it's centered, and then we're gonna top it with a little bit of caraway seed to finish. I love that toasted caraway on top. And the thing to keep in mind when this goes into the fire is it's pork, so make sure there's no open flame, make sure the coals are white hot, but make sure that there's no flames to lick up the side. Now, if you don't have a fireplace and don't have an oven, this can be finished on the stovetop just by sauteing it and just turning it constantly, making sure that your internal temperature reaches 165 degrees so that both the turkey and the pork are completely cooked. Now remember, if you don't have the time or the space in your wood stove, you can finish the HogGobbler on top. Just make sure to turn it regularly. Looking inside, you can see there's no open flame, but I've got beautiful white hot coals. So I'm just going to take and gently set this on top. This is going to act as my oven. In order to do that, I need to make sure to close it up, and I'm going to have to watch it carefully, turning it regularly to coat all sides and to get everything nicely brown. Slide the sausage to the front, and then using its own weight without picking it up, roll it back. This way, instead of picking it up and taking the chance of breaking it, you're not displacing its weight, and this should cook it nice and evenly without breaking. Now I'm just rolling it on to the third side, making sure that I get everything nice and crispy. The great thing about bacon is that as the stuffing contracts, or the filling, the bacon also contracts. And you can see it keeps it nice and firm, very uniform. One of the things that's going to be important is to let it cool afterwards. Once it's cooled, it's going to slice just like a sausage. Now with our HogGobbler sausage ready, and all it's doing right now is just resting. Want to make sure it's not hot before we slice into it. The other thing that maybe you haven't thought about is how it's going to have some real smokiness from that wood-fired oven. Now it's time to make these scrambled eggs. So the first thing to do is to start with a good knob of butter. So about a tablespoon, a little more than you would normally use. And then some of the things that really make this good are a few eggs. So we've got some really nice farm fresh eggs. I'm gonna do 3 eggs at a time here. So 3 eggs in. And then make sure to use a wooden spoon. Start to scramble those up. You got the butter, and now milk. So a few tablespoons of milk. And what you wanna do is continually stir. And while I'm stirring, I'm going to put in some fresh dill, just stripping off pieces. It smells so good. And continue to stir. So as you continue to stir, a slight film will build up on the bottom. And this way you'll get nice, moist, scrambled eggs that have a really buttery, rich texture. The last thing to make sure to do is to take them out before they're completely cooked. Because the residual heat in the eggs are going to continue to cook, and then they'll be dried out. So if everybody's had those dried out scrambled eggs, these are going to stay moist all the way up to getting them to the table. The HogGobbler sausage is ready. It's rested, which means all the juices are going to stay inside. But let's have a look inside. I'm going to slice about 1-inch slices so that they're really nice, thick slices of sausage. So 1, 2, 3. Oh my gosh, look at that. And then these are going to go straight onto the plate. This is a breakfast fit for a king, and for here at Bear Camp, that's going to give us plenty of energy to get through the day and hopefully a successful hunt.